we need to do a better job as a country dealing with mental health, um, and talking about violence, and doing what we can to make sure that our young people aren't desensitized to violence and understand the very real consequences.
So when victims of a shooting arrive at the emergency department in a hospital, if they're shot with a handgun, the actual bullet enters and exits without a tremendous amount of destruction to the tissues. But if the actual shooting has been done by a semi-automatic, then what happens is that as the bullets are traveling through, they're going at an incredibly higher velocity than would be delivered by a shotgun. And what that means is that the tissues themselves are completely pushed apart, and the amount of kinetic energy that is delivered to the cells themselves causes them to literally move apart, just as a drop of water hitting a still pond creates ripples. In the same way, there is a rippling effect, and there's a tremendous amount of friction, and therefore when those tissues smash back together again, there's a tremendous amount of damage. So when an ER surgeon opens up the body of someone that's been shot with a semi-automatic, there is so much bleeding and so much destruction. In fact, the exit wound from a semi-automatic is about the size of an orange. It's extremely large in comparison to what a handgun would cause.
I am not in favor of arming teachers. One of the statistics that I've heard is that armed police officers in an engagement with a suspect actually hit their target less than 30% of the time. Imagine someone who's a non-professional with a gun. I think you're asking for trouble.
Obviously, I think what the Parkland students are doing and what they're encouraging everyone else to do is amazing. I think really putting pressure on our elected officials to act in terms of gun control, in terms of mental health issues, background checks, all of those kinds of things are really important, and anything that we can do to force our elected officials into action, I think is really to be valued.